are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 267 of the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, on Twitter, here to talk to you today about Auburn football as we are now entering week 9 of the college football season. Auburn is 2-5 as Kentucky comes up next. Auburn has to travel to Lexington to round out an absolute brutal October slate, and we were able to listen to Coach Hugh Freeze in his weekly press conference where it was the same old stuff. We asked about, what happened on Saturday. Same thing. We didn't coach it right. We didn't play correctly. We didn't we didn't execute like we were supposed to. And that's just been the theme of this year is lack of execution in game scenarios. But some things, and I'm going to reiterate what I heard, I think Ike said on, I want to say the post-game show on Saturday. At the end of this season, I think it is imperative for the athletic staff to enroll Hugh Freeze into a media training class, because holy cow, some of the things that he answers with really scares me at times. First things first, he stated how hard it is to be a head coach and a play caller. Now, I'm not doubting that that's probably a very difficult job, but not only is it a job that you've been doing since you've been in the SEC for your first time around. I mean, you were a play caller and the head coach at Ole Miss. You were the play caller at Liberty. And you come to Auburn, you hire an offensive coordinator in Montgomery, and you talk about how, you mesh well. You have a Tower of Babel situation that you think works out well. Turns out that the Tower of Babel never works. And you end up firing Montgomery because the lack of communication wasn't there between the two. And then you choose to be your own play caller instead of going for an offensive coordinator to call the plays for you or with you. Someone who kind of matches your flow. You bring in Derek Nix, who I think is an absolute great recruiter and a great running backs coach, but he's not a play caller. Ken Austin, not a play caller. He's a quarterbacks coach, not a play caller. So you kind of bring this upon yourself that you chose to be the play caller, and now you're talking about how hard it is. It's I think he said 4 hours of stress, which that's kind of like going into the season, like, oh, I'm going to be an Auburn fan. You're going to get that stress every single time. And he also mentioned something about, he also said recruit not only outside players to come to Auburn, but also recruiting the current players to stay. And this is an ongoing thing with the new era of college football. You have to recruit day in, day out, 24/7, 365. Every single person you come to contact with, you have to be recruiting them. All players are on the board for every single other team. Tampering is basically legal now in today's era of college football. We've seen it happen, but nothing ever happened to the team that did it. But talking about Hugh Freeze, I mean, it's hard to really sympathize with the notion of him being upset about the added stress of being the play caller when you actively chose to do it yourself. And I know he says that Derek Nix helps make the plays for the first few plays of the drive. And, he talks to Kent Austin about, what should we run next? But you're the play caller. Kent Austin and Nix aren't. So one thing, I guess, going into the next season, I mean, if you're wanting to be the play caller for next year, I mean, I don't think Hugh Freeze has made bad play calls overall. I think there's been some very sloppy ones. I think that a lot of the times you look at the plays and it feels like they would work if something went differently. If the pass was a little higher, if it was a little less, if it was a little less of a missile than it was, if offensive line specifically the left side of the offensive line, held a block for longer than 1.2 seconds, then something would go differently. It's like I don't think that Hugh Freeze has been calling bad games. But when you come into the press conferences and you talk about how exhausted you are from the 4 hours of added stress, I mean, you kind of have asked for that whenever you chose to be the play caller, to take over those duties. So that's my 2 cents on that matter. Another thing that Hugh Freeze said that I think a lot of Auburn fans will really enjoy. Alex McPherson, he talked about him and his continuation of trying to get back healthy. We can now expect Alex McPherson to get looks from inside the 35-yard line, which is outstanding. I mean, Alex feels very confident that he'll be able to make those kicks. And, I think he has currently like the longest streak ever of made field goals at 19. And I think he's 19 for 20 in his entire career at Auburn. So super excited to hurry up and get him back, just so Auburn can find ways to continuously score points. Auburn, I think right now averages like 20 points a game, if that. That's not something you want to do as an offense. I think if you look back at Iowa last year, they were able to fire their offensive coordinator because they set stipulations before the season that he has to average 24 points a game. So if Auburn's averaging less points per game than Iowa, that's something you have to look at. That's something you need to talk about amongst your staff and amongst your rotations and your guys that you're putting out there. And I mean, he also talked about going back to the offense for a little bit. I mean, Robert Lewis. He said that Robert has owned up to a drop touchdown. That touchdown could have been the play that gave Auburn their first SEC win of the season, their first win in like 3-4 weeks. And I still look back at that play, and then I look at the play calling for a little bit, and I look at the personnel that was put on the field. I don't know if it would have been different, but I feel like I said this on the post-game show, if Malcolm Simmons is there, if Cam Coleman's in that situation, KLS, Perry Thompson, if those guys are in that same situation with a perfect ball going their way. And I know we've seen, I think Malcolm Simmons dropped one of those kind of passes against Georgia, and he owned up to that with his fault too. But whenever you're a veteran wide receiver, that you were brought in to help be a veteran leader to a young wide receiver core, you got to make those catches. You got to make them. But overall, I mean, that's one of the many, many, many position groups that need to be looked at week to week basis, because left tackle position, he stated, will continue to be evaluated. We saw a lot of different looks. I think Percy kind of lost his spot for a little bit. Dylan Wade came in to play left tackle for I believe a half of the Missouri game, and I think that's a great move, strictly because Percy has just been slow. Just hasn't been getting it. He's getting off the line slow. He's either jumping off sides first, and he's holding, and he's not blocking on plays. And that's something you can't have. Not only just like in general, I mean, you can't have that whatsoever. But whenever you're brought in to help build up a veteran offensive line, Percy Lewis last year was an all SEC honorable mention. You're bringing him in to add to that, to improve upon what the young parts of the offensive line that are already really good. I mean, Connor Lew, best offensive lineman on the team right now, and he's only a true sophomore. And you bring up Percy Lewis, and he's a veteran guy, all SEC caliber tackle, and I just think he's had a very bad season. And you're starting to see more guys come in, like Braden Joyner got to play a few snaps against Missouri, or get to play actually a lot of snaps. I need to see more of Tyler Johnson getting in there. Like I need to see more guys going in, because I think Dylan Wade played fine, but overall, I mean, Dylan Wade also had last year, which still reigns over my memory of Dylan Wade. And every time I hear a holding call, I always expect to hear it say 52 because of the haunting that happened last year with Dylan Wade. But that position, left tackle position, will continue to be evaluated throughout the remainder of the season. And something that you got to look forward to getting into the future is, what does this offensive line look like going into next year? Because you lost an offensive lineman that yesterday. You lost Andrew Babalola to Michigan, the 5-star target that Auburn's been trying to get for a while, that recruits have been talking about trying to flip from wherever he was trying to go, trying to bring him into to the Plains. And, I'm never on the side of I never think a recruiting battle is ever over. But getting a commit in October, or losing a commit in October, seems pretty final. But that just kind of depends. But losing Andrew Babalola really sucks for this class, and I think this class is gonna kind of stay where it is. I mean, looking at the class right now, I think Auburn still holds the top 5 spot. I'm trying to pull up the 24/7 rankings, but it is being a pain. Auburn currently stands at number 5 right now, and Babalola would have brought Auburn up over LSU, if I'm not mistaken, and probably arguably could have got them over Georgia at 3. But that loss keeps them at 5. Still a lot of recruiting battles left to go. A lot of updating needs to be happening on some of these recruiting sites, because Auburn definitely should be having, I know it's like the composite scores or whatever, but Auburn has 2, 5, 3, at least the bare minimum 3 5-stars on this team, on this recruiting class. Jared Smith, Autry, and Deuce Knight are all 5-stars in my opinion. And you know what? You just give them all 5 stars for all I care. But yeah, losing Babalola does hurt, but you got to continuously win battles. I mean, this recruiting class is built in the trenches, and continuously to do that. And something that has been going Freeze's way, I will say, and it's something that I use to help defend his case, is the fact that whenever you look at what you're seeing on the field, whenever we see something differently than what the coaches see. And you look at the field, and I stand by a tweet that I put out yesterday, that I think the largest group of people that prey on Auburn's downfall the most are Auburn fans, because you watch what happens, and I mean, what's happening on the field is nothing to brag about. It's nothing to cheer for, because of the losses. The 2-5 season isn't what you want at all. I don't think there's anyone out there that would be happy with the 2-5 season, unless it was like projected to get 1 win or something. You weren't expecting to get more than 1 win. Now you got 2 wins. But looking at the season, I mean, Auburn has only, if you count out the Georgia game and look at games where you had a chance in, Auburn has been losing games on average by 6.5 points. That's only a touchdown. And you're telling recruits that you're only a quarterback away. That's all that recruits have been hearing, is that Auburn is only a quarterback away. Now in 2025, you can't tell recruits that, because you have guys. I don't know where you still stand on Hank Brown, because you took him out of the game against Arkansas, kind of just showing that you didn't have any faith that he could bring Auburn back. Walker White hasn't been on the travel rosters. He's on the scout team, so you don't know really where he stands. And then Deuce Knight, I mean, it's already been talked about as being more of a project quarterback. So kind of, I mean, I don't expect any of those guys to really get PT and get starting minutes, except for Hank Brown, I guess, until like 26, 27 level in those years. So you're really setting yourself up you have to get a home run transfer portal quarterback going into this upcoming season. You have to grab one of those guys. The checkbook needs to be open. Blank check to the best quarterback that enters the portal. You can't have another Cam Ward situation where Auburn chooses not to make the payments for him, and then he goes to Miami. Miami's not undefeated. He's a Heisman candidate, and Miami's on pace to win their conference. If Auburn's a quarterback away, Cam Ward would have boosted Auburn over that. You would have had an X factor level quarterback who, would have won Auburn probably at bare minimum 1 extra game. But I would say if you have an X factor quarterback, you beat Cal, you beat Arkansas, you beat Oklahoma, and you beat Missouri, because all you had to do was just get that one play. needed to change. You can't have those dumb turnovers that you had against Cal and Arkansas, which Auburn hasn't been turning over the football, which is a great thing. Auburn's found ways to protect the football at the expense of taking away the explosive factors of the game. I think Auburn has been very quiet. And of course, you have the hints of it. You had the explosive run with Jarquez Hunter against Georgia. You had the 47-yard bomb for Cam Coleman against Missouri. But you're not seeing it as much anymore because you're trying to protect the football more and more. And I think that's really what's harming it. Because if you have these playmakers that you're not able to get the ball to them in open space to make plays, to get touchdowns. So you're kind of in this rut of offensively where you have to sit there and you have to find ways to get down the field without using your weapons to their fullest extent because you don't have faith that your quarterback can get the football down there. I mean, I think Peyton Thorne had a good enough game for Auburn to win on Saturday, but it didn't get there. 2 perfect passes, one for a touchdown, the other one went right through the receiver's hands. But other than that, I mean, there wasn't really any other big plays made. Peyton Thorne ran into his own teammate and fumbled the football. So if you're a quarterback away, you got to get that. You got to get more wins next year. If you're a Cam Ward right now, I don't know about the Georgia game, but if you have a Cam Ward on this team this year, you are only, if you're 2-5 right now, I think you flip it around, you'd be 6-1 just by having a better quarterback. So that's pretty much all we heard from the Hugh Freeze press conference. And of course, I added in the Andrew Babalola thing because I kind of had to talk about that. Actually, there's one more thing I got to talk about because I think it's the biggest thing and it's the dumbest thing that I heard too, because I think it kind of ruins the mentality of what you want your fans to think about what's going on. And of course, I'm not anti-Freeze this year. I'm not on the Hugh Freeze bandwagon wanting him out on the first transit out of Auburn. I think those fans are delusional and they just want to see Auburn suffer in some more seasons because you lose a recruiting class if you do that. You lose players from last year's recruiting class, players from the previous year's recruiting class, and you're right back to square zero if you go into 2025 with a new coach. So I don't take any of that sentiment. But the worst thing that Hugh Freeze said, and I meant to put this down, I meant to say it first, but he said, we're playing to not lose and not playing to win. And that sentence is so confusing to me in the sense of, if you're playing not to lose, then why are you losing? If you're not playing to win, then why are you playing the game? Every team should go out on that field and play to win. And I think Auburn has had moments of games where they have played to win, but then they get those leads. And then they get complacent. And then they, instead of trying to put their foot on the throat of their opponent and keep their foot on the gas pedal and kick it in the next gear and all that stuff, trying to just end their opponent. It's like that. It's like Mortal Kombat, and it's finish him. And Auburn just kind of stands there and doesn't do it. And I use Mortal Kombat reference. I've never played the actual games, I don't think, where it's like finish him and they ever to get back into the fight. But Auburn sits there and lets them get back into it. And the instance of saying that Auburn is playing not to lose is kind of a weird sentiment to say because of the fact that Auburn is losing. If you're not playing, and also instance of playing not to lose is the equivalent of playing to win. Those are like the same thing. And I understand like intention goes into that, but those should be the same. Those should be synonyms of each other as a saying. But I don't think you should say that for starters. But overall, I mean, you gotta get some media training, man, because you cannot tell the world really that your team is not going out there every Saturday wanting to win. And you talk about the effort. of this team in the press conference. He talked about how the young guys have been performing extremely well. Jay Crawford's one of the highest graded freshmen, and I think just this week, but also just overall, Caleb Harris has been one of the highest graded safeties in college football as a freshman safeties. DeMarcus Riddick, Malik Blockton, all those guys have looked great. Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson when he's gotten in, Malcolm Simmons. You have all these young guys who are looking the part. And you go out in front of a microphone and tell basically all media personnel that your team is playing not to lose, but you're 2-5 going into a series of must-win games if you're wanting to have those extra practices and play in December for a bowl game and hopefully break Auburn's streak of losing seasons. Because right now, Auburn is on pace for Hugh Freeze's second losing season as a head coach. I just don't think you should say never say that your team is playing not to lose and then say instead of trying to play to win, because it makes it sound like the team doesn't have any effort going into these games, but you're seeing effort from most of the team. But we're going to go to a little quick break. Out of this break, we are going to do the SEC Power Rankings. Be a nice little quick show, maybe under 30 minutes. After the Power Rankings, we'll get out of here. So stay tuned to listen to the merch. Now, outside this break, I'll let you know where Auburn stands amongst the remainder of the SEC. So we'll be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes, looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. And of course, that is available on thewarreport.com. First, you go to the shop, first page, college loop hat, second page, Feelin' Loopy t-shirt. I'm not wearing either right now. I'm kind of celebrating the fact that my MLB team is currently going to the College World Series, to the World Series to take on the most hated team, or one of the most hated teams in sports, and the Yankees. So go Dodgers. Just go ahead and throw up the LA real quick. So yeah, go Dodgers. I know I'm kind of a Dodgers fan in the heart of Braves country, but I'm going to continuously support my team. But as we get into SEC Power Rankings, I'm going to go from 1 to 16. That feels just easier to me. So, number 1's pretty easy. It's the Georgia Bulldogs. They took down Texas in a pretty decent fashion. So much so that I guess 24/7 got hacked, and Quinn Ewers almost. I guess it looked like for a second that they were trying to hide a rumor that Quinn Ewers was about to opt out of the season and prepare for the NFL draft, which would be absolutely stupid. Because I don't think he kind of ruined all of his draft stock on Saturday. But he said it was a lie. They deleted it. They said they were hacked, which I think that just means you probably just got a scoop, didn't fact check it, and then you made a graphic for it. That's just me. That graphic was pretty professional looking to have been a hacker, but that. Who am I to judge? So yeah, number 1, Georgia. Excuse me. Number 2, I have the Texas Longhorns. I still think they're the second best team in the SEC. I think we saw a continuation of the first installment of what I think is / what I thought was going to be the SEC championship, but I don't know how they made it the SEC is going to be, because after those two, I mean, you have your pick on 3 through 10. Number 3, I have Tennessee getting a massive win over Alabama, making it to where this rivalry is no longer just a one-trick pony. It looks like it's going to go into home team always wins now. Number 4, I have LSU, undefeated in conference play. 4 in my power rankings, number 1 overall, or number 2 overall in the standings, right behind my number 5 team in Texas A&M. These teams play this week. These teams could be flip-flopped to me. I think I could easily have put Texas A&M at 4 and LSU at 5. I think they're neck and neck. I think it's going to be a great game, and I can't wait to talk more about that on the Thursday show, talking about the pregame of this week, where Auburn has to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. Number 6, the Vanderbilt Commodores. joining the realm of ranked teams for the first time in. Oh, I should have done the research on that. First time forever. It feels like I feel like it's been since James Franklin since last time Vanderbilt was ranked. Or it would have been the year that they beat Kansas State. Maybe it would have been 2018-ish. Maybe just maybe. But yeah, kudos to Vanderbilt. Cheering for him up until next week. I'll be rooting against them. Number 7, I have Alabama. I think more losses to come. They play Missouri this week. They play LSU in 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. They have a bye week between Missouri and LSU. So, yeah. 8, I have Missouri. Maybe it found a stride. Brady Cook actually had to get had to get a robotic arm and ankle and all this other stuff. Became a cyborg and just absolutely came in, just throttled Auburn at the end of the game, going for 18 unanswered points. So number 8, I have Missouri. Number 9, South Carolina, absolutely taking it to Oklahoma. And, maybe good South Carolina is on pace to take over the SEC, unless bad South Carolina has anything to say about this. Number 10, Ole Miss. I believe they were on a bye week this week. And I think Ole Miss has fallen off the wagon desperately so. Number 11, I have Florida. A lot higher than I thought they were going to be, right in front of Arkansas. And I think, again, those two could be flip-flopped in my opinion. But Florida got a massive win over Kentucky. So I just wanted to put that out there. I predicted this to happen preseason. They're going to beat Kentucky, and the Kentucky fan got very mad at me about that. Just letting y'all know. Number 12, I have Arkansas. I think that, they look bad against LSU, but they've been a team that has caused damage to a lot of teams' morale, i.e. one of them being Auburn, another one being Tennessee's. 13, I have the Kentucky Wildcats. Looked embarrassing against Florida, and now they welcome in Auburn this week. 14, Oklahoma. Absolutely just terrible start to their SEC membership. Number 15, the Auburn Tigers. You continuously find ways to lose. You continuously find yourself on near the bottom of my power rankings. And number 16, I have Mississippi State. So that's my power rankings for the SEC. Again, number 1, Georgia. 2, Texas. 3, Tennessee. 4, LSU. 5, A&M. 6, Vanderbilt. 7, Alabama. 8, Missouri. 9, South Carolina. 10, Ole Miss. 11, Florida. 12, Arkansas. 13, Kentucky. 14, Oklahoma. 15, Auburn. And 16, Mississippi State. And, of course, as we get closer, we'll be talking about all things Auburn basketball in just a week. We got exhibition games coming in. We're like 13 days from Auburn women's basketball starting up. Super excited to talk about all the other sports Auburn has to offer this season, this athletic school year. And we got volleyball doing well. Soccer is out there killing it. Equestrian's always killing it. You got all these other sports. Go check them out. There's more than just football at Auburn, and they're a lot more enjoyable to watch at times. So make sure you go check those out as well. I have been trying for so long to find any opening in my schedule to go watch Auburn softball play, and it has not worked out in my favor. It's so annoying. I really want to watch this team play. I'm super excited for Auburn softball and the Malvoes this season, and Butch Thompson to turn things around for Auburn baseball. Super excited for the remainder of Auburn athletics. Need something. Need something to root for with that beautiful navy and burnt orange. But, Auburn football, if they get a win, who knows? They might turn things around. And, as long as – it honestly feels like if this team just, sniffed a win. If they – just, getting a win would just – start something. Getting a win over SEC opponent would just flip an ignition switch, kick it in second gear or something. It would just do something besides losing. Yeah. But what do I know? But with that being said, I'm Dylan Larck, A-Boy on Twitter. Also follow me on Instagram as well at Dylan Larck, DYLANLARCK. And at the Boy Tank, Twitter again at YABOY the Tank. Also, if I'm right here in the College Loop Podcast, like, comment, subscribe. We're getting so close to 900 subscribers, and which means we're getting also very close to 1,000 subscribers. And of course, you can follow, subscribe, and like, and comment. Leave your thoughts on the Hugh Freeze press conference, and what do you think about Auburn not playing to lose, but playing not to lose, but not playing to win, or something like that. And of course, follow us on social medias as well, on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works, all those at The College Loop, and of course, the audio versions of the show as well on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and of course, Amazon Music. And all that being said, thanks for watching this episode of the College Loop Podcast. And as always, War Eagle.